gamers, and welcome to the end of our journey into Skyrim and a little touch of Oblivion, which I'll talk about in our next TDP. Wow, what a road, what a journey, and it does feel odd in some ways for a game I was enjoying so much to put like an ending on it. But if you're familiar with Skyrim, you'll be very understanding, I think, that 100%ing it, doing everything in it is a monumental effort that's not always worth the journey that you go on to get there. I've had lots of tastes of that with the with various, I would say about 2 in 10 quests is fantastic, like really into it, really enjoyable, and then the other 8 are like, okay. Okay, with often payoffs really being about the journey itself. Like the dungeons especially have been the massive highlight of Skyrim for me, but overwhelmingly so. The storytelling has notably been better when written by non-Bethesda personnel. I would say some of the biggest highlights I've had storytelling wise have been the additional content that has been created by wonderful fans of the community who've obviously poured heart and soul and months of work into creating things, and that has definitely been overwhelmingly the biggest thing that I've taken away from this. It has been a stark reminder for me that Bethesda doesn't quite hit the mark when it comes to storytelling. I know we bring up The Witcher a lot, but The Witcher is a standout. It's like the exception to the rule because it was so fantastically good in dealing with every side quest having something more going on. Like there's very, very few. It's like the opposite ratio. Like 2 out of 10 are not particularly good, but 8 of them have depth and moral quandaries and a blurred road that you're walking as the Witcher, which fits. What I would say is like it was a stark reminder of like why I didn't particularly love Fallout 3. I loved New Vegas by Obsidian, but Fallout 3, by the time I got to the end of it, I was like, it's just not over that line where I'm like, I have to see every element of this game. And Skyrim was the same, and Starfield was even more so. So Starfield I couldn't bear for more than, I think we played 2 days of it, so I'll call that 12, 13 hours. And by then I'm like, I'm so done with this because everything just feels so fundamentally pointless. It's just not got that structured world. And it might be a lesson in general is that Bethesda games for me, as somebody who's not a newcomer but not experienced the full body of work, it's worth waiting with a Bethesda game for like 3 years and then going in when the community has gone in there and sort of started digging around in its guts and pulling things out and find the problems and have fixed it in their own way. And I think that's probably Bethesda's sort of manifesto, is like, let's give them the framework and the structure and good guiding lines and things like that. But realistically, this game is not going to be full or complete even in many respects for a little while because we're going to be leaning on the community a lot, which then leans onto how they tried to monetize that back in the day with Skyrim with the paid mods and the creator club and things like that, which met with massive outreach. So that's been a really interesting sort of knowledge experience for me and dealing with Bethesda stuff. So how did I finish up? I finished the Dragonborn DLC, which was, again, an extremely short story, but decent. Really decent. I like this. It was the better DLC than the Dawnguard. I liked Dawnguard plenty, and I know there's multiple avenues to experience those stories. Again, you can't 100% it unless you, like, do it all again and do a different choice, and now you side with the Dawnguard, and now you don't kill Daddy. You don't do all these different types of things. But I almost guarantee the payoffs are not quite worth it as they weren't with the Dawnguard. The Dragonborn DLC, again, had this non-finish. We had a great showdown atop the mountain in the void area of chaos and dealing with Tentacle Daddy and all that kind of stuff, which was really cool. The last boss was actually really funny, is I had picked up Dragon Shout, which increases my damage even further, and I got my Berserking back. So when the last boss started, I popped Dragon Shout, I popped Berserking, so I probably had like 5x damage all multiplied on top of all the enchants I had with multiple damage, and I one-shot everything. I don't know how hard I was hitting because I haven't got damage numbers, but very hard. Marak landed, I bonked him, and then he spawned 4 dragons. Like, the fight mechanically really good, but I bonked the crap out of it. And then you get back in the classic Bethesda fashion, and the Freya comes out to talk to you, and she's like, oh, good, it's over. And you're like, yeah, all right. So anyway, I'm going to go back and get on with my life now that that's dealt with. Thank God that's over. right? Almost like they'd been to see... It's sort of reminiscent of sitting through a bad theatre production. But the theatre production was kind of fine. But the payoff with the people at the end of it is like, oh, thank God that's over. It's like, no, it was really good. Like, are we not celebrating this? Like, no. No, okay. And that was cool. And I looked around at a couple of other places, and then I left it to my audience to be like, okay, what things do we want to see and mess around with? Because they have a bunch of little side things, which are nods, and certainly with the sort of Daedric princes and things like that. So we did the drinking contest, which then led to the god of degeneracy. And he's just hammered all the time. And he's like, yeah, go and spread the good word, you know. Yeah, well, you know, we just like to party, essentially. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I really wanted to see what would happen with Boethiah. The only reason I was interested in Boethiah and why she's like the only Daedric prince I could probably remember the name of is that when we did the stuff for Mol Barag, where we had to trap a priest and then beat him to death with a mace, which was some days ago, he turned out to be one of the gods of a particular word I can't say on YouTube because I'll get algorithm to hell and back. But the counter to that was Boethiah, who was more like the god of violence and trickery and things like that. I was like, ooh, Boethiah sounds right on my street. I would like to do something with Boethiah if it's in the game. And someone said, oh, there is some Boethiah stuff. And I was like, oh, sweet, I want to do that. And so we'd left it until now, until we finally did it. It was, again, the premise was fantastic. I like this, where we went to this mountaintop with the cult of Boethiah, and they're saying, like, if you want to communicate with Boethiah, you have to prove yourself to Boethiah. And the way you do that is by sacrificing someone. You need to convince a follower to go up to the, the tortured stone and then kill them. And then it dawned on me after we'd done this. I'm like, how does this work? It was actually one of your companions, of which I had Lydia and Serana with me, who I do not want to sacrifice. And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Is that it's a case of you have to almost Avengers Endgame style, where you have to sacrifice something you love. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome. However, I don't actually need to do that, because there are a number of followers out in this world. And in a really... And this is where we're going to come back to this before I give my final thoughts, is that there was a full circle that happened here. Is my very, very first companion that I ever got in the game was sat in an inn in Whiterun, and I quite liked her. I think she's called Uthgrid the Unbroken or something like that. I might be thinking of Undyne from Undertale, but I think it's Uthgrid, something like that. And I was like, it's kind of fitting that this journey comes to a close by sacrificing the first companion that I ever had. And so I put Lydia and Serana to the side and went and spoke to Uthgrid, found her, and I was like, hey, remember me from like weeks ago? Come with me for a minute. She's like, oh, cool. You're back. I'm like, yeah, I'm back. I'm really, really back. Now, just put your hands on that stone real quick. And she's like, oh, God. And then she gets, like, just crucified up there and killed her. Didn't get to see a model of Boethiah. Boethiah just speaks through her. I was like, aw. I was really hoping to see what the representation would be of Boethiah. But that didn't happen. And it led me to just a nice item, and that was it. That was the end of the quest line. I was like, oh, okay. Again, you know, we're kind of hoping for some sort of expansive quest line. But there's a lot of that in Skyrim. You know, you're a cannibal now. Do you do anything with that? Nah, not really. Just gives you a buff. Or it gives you a nice ring, or it gives you an item, or something along those lines. And that was really cool. I was like, how do we finish this out? So it made sense to me is that Clark the Orc returned home to his vampiric mansion where I had adopted and sent some children in the past. I picked up Lydia and Serana again, and I found, although it bugged out, and we had to use no-clip to get through the mountain because some add-on had conflicted and blocked the entrance. And in we went, and there they were, my kids, Runa and Ra. And Runa's like, I'm so happy here. This is amazing. And I'm like, this is Clark's retirement, as Clark sat down by the fireplace with Lydia and Serana in his mansion with his two children, where... interestingly enough, I gave the mystic Deathblade of Boethiah to Runa, the little girl. And she's like, this is the best thing I've ever gotten, Daddy. Oh, Papa, thank you. And proceeded immediately to start whacking away on training dummies, training to become an assassin. What was the Stark girl? Arya Stark. I've made an Arya Stark out of her. And that was fitting. So I logged the game out, sat by the fireplace, drenched in the blood of my enemies, and now raising the next crop of murderous monsters to unleash upon Skyrim and Tamriel for future endeavors. And that is where we'll leave Skyrim for now. I do want to come back and try it with a bunch of add-ons. Like, some people have recommended packs that are like 3,000 plus add-ons. I want to see what the game looks like there. My final thoughts here is this is clearly an S-tier game. It is by far an S-tier game, but not because of... It's hard to say. It's not because of Bethesda. It's not because of the guys who made it, in a way. Like, if I look at it objectively as without any of the additions we made, which was the companion stuff, even just the UI changes, and the little tweaks and anniversary content in particular, I think I would be like, this is a really kind of nice open world mid RPG. Even in 2011 when it came out, there was some fun. If you check the years, certainly from like 2006 to 2012, of the caliber of games that were coming out during that period of time, not that it's slowed down, but there's just so many games now that it's more difficult these days to separate the wheat from the chaff, is that there were some phenomenal games that came out during that. Absolutely just top tier in every single way without being touched by someone else, is my point. But it is that way. It absolutely is that way. This game is designed to be touched by other people. It's designed to be influenced by other people. It's designed to be played your way. Like, if people are saying to me, is like, well, I just immediately disable, like, carry weight. I totally get that. Makes sense. It's frustrating. It's annoying. You leave so much on the table that later on you might actually want. Like, I turned down a lot of training upgrades because of cost, which I wouldn't have had to do if it wasn't for carry weight, which does add to the immersion factors. Like, you can't have everything. But you can. That's the thing. You can do that, but you just have to, like, fast travel backwards and forwards and dump it and come back and do all this kind of stuff, similar to what you do in Fallout. Disabling that and changing how this game fundamentally works from the ground up because it doesn't suit your needs. And the game offers that in spades. It offers that in a massive amounts of way, and that's the joy that comes from this game and why people have several thousand hours in it. For some people, it will be re-experiencing the stories in a different way, but for many people, I suspect, it's just experiencing this game in the way you wanted to. You can almost build your own RPG around Skyrim. It's just got that framework and structure. It's a foundation for you to build on the way you want to play it. And for that, it has my massive respect and is easily an S-tier game. So that's Skyrim. In our next TDP, we'll have a quick look at Oblivion and some stark changes. Bethesda actually, interesting enough, Bethesda actually paid me to give the opinion you're going to get in the next TDP, because they were like, it's kind of interesting to see what your thoughts, because I think they'd been watching, in fact, I know they'd been watching our Skyrim playthrough. They're like, I'd brought up many times, we're not going to touch Oblivion for a while, because I want to wait and not become like, you know, do an overwhelming amount of Elder Scrolls content and come back to Oblivion when we're ready and I'm excited for it, because we've just put like two and a half weeks into Skyrim and see where we go from there. I think they heard that and they were like, no, we kind of want your opinion directly from playing Skyrim to the Oblivion remaster. So that's coming up next, all right? But Skyrim, S tier, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Had such joy with it, had such fun with it, and a lot of that was due to mods. But yeah, you can play this totally fine without anything and have a really good time. But it's so much better when you let the community do what they do best. All right? See you tomorrow.